There we go. Unmute. We are recording. While we're waiting for a couple people to file in, probably from parking and everything, welcome everyone. We're excited to get going here. I want to ask a question real quick because there are so many new faces, and I would love for you to raise your hand if you're new to the brokerage as of like 3 months or less. 3 months or less. Would you guys be willing to just tell us your name and maybe if there's something interesting you want to say, just something real quick. We just want to get some names and some faces. You okay starting, Delise? Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm Delise Bowles, and I've been an investor for 9 years, and I decided to get my license and help other people get investments as well. So I'm happy to be here.
Awesome.
I'm Chris Bond. I got my license back in March, and I was texting when you said what we should say. Sorry.
Something interesting about maybe that's it right there.
That's something interesting about me. I'm not very good at listening, I suppose. I don't know. Happy to be here. My last name is Bond, so you know my first name is James, so that's pretty interesting. I don't go by it, but yeah, you know this. You've seen my paperwork. Oh, yeah, 00 agent, secret agent.
Awesome.
So anyway, good to meet you all.
Yeah.
So my name is Edward Fuller. I'm an electrician for a long time, and I decided to go for a dream and become a real estate agent. I was in the Air Force for a long time, so that's something special about me. Served my country for a while.
Awesome.
Hey, what's up? I'm Chris Hollifield. I got my license the end of May. I'm coming over from another brokerage. Excited to be part of the team here and learn everything you guys got to teach me. And let's see, I do a couple of podcasts, and I teach others how to do podcasts. So that's interesting about me. So
Awesome. Excellent. So if you want to get a podcast going, talk to Chris.
Hey, I'm Janet Zimmerman, and I actually got my license in October, but I had a time commitment at my other company, and I'm coming with some experience from new home construction and a million years ago before the crash of mortgages. So trying to put it all together. I'm really excited. I've always wanted to do this, so I'm here.
It's so great. We want you all to feel welcome, everyone. And so new faces, it's good to introduce ourselves. Is there anyone else that we missed 3 months or less? Right here? Do you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Nisha. I'm about to be a real estate agent.
Awesome.
So just came to check it out, hang out with you guys.
Excellent.
And this is my dad. I brought him.
Awesome. Welcome. Let's give a round of applause to our new people and some love and support and passing the tests, getting those going. All right, so bucket fill. So this is what we want to do. Just this is where we spread a little bit of positivity and say thank you. If you see someone else that may have helped you, help someone else, a little bit of positivity, maybe in the market in general. But is there anyone that has something that they would like to share? What's going on good in your world, Elise? Oh, well, that's okay.
I just wanted to put a shout out to Don for doing the investing class on Wednesday nights. I think that's awesome. And I think that he's got some really valuable advice to share. And I just think that's awesome that he's doing that.
Excellent. Thank you. Who else? Anyone have something they want to share? Oh, yeah. I know I've got to hold this up to my face because it's not great down here. All right. Okay. We'll move forward because we want to save a ton of time for Jonny. But I do want to point this one out just out of all of the MVVBP down at the bottom. You can see where I'm reading that. So the mission, just want to highlight the mission. Mission of Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, which is what we're going to talk about more today, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth living. Mentioned last time that I would like to talk a little bit more about Big Why. So Big Why, if you're unfamiliar with this, it's one of the main motivating factors of your business. And I'm hoping if there's someone in the room that would be willing to share what their big why or their purpose behind why you do what you do. Why do you sell homes? Why do you treat clients the way you do? Why do you go the extra mile, or what gets you up in the morning? Is there anything that someone is willing to share as far as there's no judgment and there's no right or wrong answer. Everything is personal, and it's one thing can be great for you and it might not motivate someone else. But what is something that if someone's willing to share, maybe one or two people, what's a big why that you guys have? Brock?
We likely all share this, but my big why, I'm a mortgage guy, by the way, not a realtor, but we're similar. My big why that gets me up every day is just wealth creation in general, both just, for our clients, but also for myself. It's a very lucrative business to be in, mortgage and real estate, and my team. It's fun to coach them through saving and investing and all that stuff. So wealth creation is my big why.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to share theirs? Yes.
Not going to share my whole story, but just to put it simply, so I come from another country. I moved to the States 9 years ago. I had a pretty successful sales career in my home country. And then I moved here, and I still have family over there. So I wanted to make a combination of the two. I still want to work. I still want to have that rush of sales and feel like I contribute with something, and yet have the flexibility in my life that I can still go see my family over on the other side of the pond.
Excellent. Awesome. That's so great. And I'm sure there's people that resonates with in here. So it is helpful for you guys to share these. Woo, that was close. Is there anyone else who would like to share theirs? Okay. All right. We'll save it for next week. So be thinking of that. So hopefully it's something this is helpful for other people. Thank you for those that were willing to share. Brock, we're going to come back to you for a quick mortgage minute.
Okay, I'll be fast. We do want to hear from Jonny, the man of the hour. But we have a really cool program that was launched with Cross Country, which is a 1099 qualifying program. So think realtors or solar salesmen or summer sales guys, whatever. They earn money on a 1099, and for that reason, they deduct a lot of things that maybe aren't actual business expenses. They're just regular living expenses that W-2 earners also have. They just don't have the same luxury of writing that stuff off. So it makes it difficult for them to qualify to buy a home because their income, they pretty much write it all off. But we have a program that enables us to exclude the tax returns. That includes you realtors as well, and just take the 1099. Now, there is an expense ratio tied to this. So we do account for some expenses. There's multiple methods. The easiest one to explain is we would just take 75% of whatever the gross is and use that as the qualifying income. But one cool thing is that helps offset that in a pretty big way is the debt income ratios can actually go all the way to 55%. So not only can we use the gross 1099 income minus some expenses, and there's some various other ways that we can do that, but in addition, we can go up to 55% debt to income ratio, as little as 10% down with no PMI. So pretty sweet program. I think I know I've run into a bunch of, solar sales guys, for example, that have to wait a year or two or whatever to claim income that this would be perfect for. So that's the highlight. Yeah. No, we can do as little as 1 year. Good question. I should have brought that up. So as little as 1 year of 1099s. And we can do that. Any other questions? Yeah. Yep. As little as 10% down. Any other questions? Sweet. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brock. Okay, a few things coming up. Keep this on your calendar, on your radar. So this is today, open house. You probably saw the sign upstairs. So Real Advantage Title Company We've got an open house. So after this is over, maybe just go on and stop by and say hi, check them out. We've got a couple awesome classes coming up. Agent Financials. This is also 3-hour CE. We have our amazing Amy is going to be a part of that, as well as Eden. And what? And Kimber is going to be on there too. So Agent Financials, we need to run our businesses like a business. So this will help you to make sure that your finances are in place and you're doing things right on that side. Also over here, we've got Quantum Leap by Jonny as well as Eden. So that's coming up August 13th. So right now it's only $20, and mainly that just pays for material, like the packet that you're going to get. At the door, it will be a little bit more. These, you can have a click registration link that we're sending out if you haven't seen it already, but it's in your email or will be in your email soon. So you guys can register for those. New home construction and buyer representation. Our own Emily Lowry is going to be a part of this. And so if you want to learn more about new construction and that side, it's a certification going through that there. That's going to be over email as well if you haven't already seen that, for you to register. Spring Masterminds coming up July 21st. For those that want to take advantage of that, there's a link. You can see what all of that is about. We're going to skip this video for the sake of time. Maybe we're not. It talks about Mega Camp. So Mega Camp is, it's coming up right around the corner. We are putting together a virtual experience, and tickets are already on sale, and so that you can be a part of that. It really boosts your business. Every time that I've gone to Mega Camp or family reunion, it gives motivation. It boosts my business, helps me kind of reframe my mindset so that I have my goals and my track in line with what I want to do. So if you need to know more about this, please reach out to me, ask me questions, reach out to anyone on staff. We'll help you get set up, but it really is beneficial, and it's catered to you. So it'll all be virtual again, just because of COVID regulations for that. Part of this is we're gonna have a few qualifying rounds. One this is Clash of the Closers, so kind of a script battle off. One of them has already been done July 8th. We've got another one July 29th. If you want to be a part of that, go to kwconnect.com. Pretty neat. And also we're trying to let you know that there are resources there at your fingertips wherever you want. So there's a whole magazine type resource that's out front. And this is a social media content calendar. So if you guys want to have social media part of your business strategy, there's a whole system and platform that is as suggestions. Here's what to say, where to say it, and when to say it. And you can find that on out front. And you can also find more details of any of this on KW Connect. But just want to let you know those resources are there at your fingertips. And there's really so much more than you could really use, but we want to let you know where to find it. Okay, let's get to Jonny. So Jonny he has been a team leader. So what you see me in this role, he's been the team leader down in the Orem office for 10 years. Yeah, 10 years down there. Now he's the regional director. So he helps make sure that all the market centers are running and operating. He also runs a huge team, one of the largest in the state, and very successful on several businesses, projects, and has his hands in even overseas projects as well. So he's the real deal. Let's give him our attention and a good round of applause.
Hello. How's it going? Good, fantastic. It was raining outside. Did you know that? This drought, how are we doing on the drought? Watering our lawns still? Yeah. Well, it's always a treat to be here. This is always one of my favorite offices to come to. You guys are absolutely crushing it. Who's having your best year ever in real estate? Yeah, bunch of you? Good. The purchase price trickling up for sure helps, right? Our average purchase price across the whole company. So we have about 1,700 agents here in the state of Utah that are Keller Williams family members. And we officially, 2 months ago, I think, crossed the average purchase price on everybody above 500,000, which is just crazy, right? I got into real estate in 2007, and I think our average purchase price was like 120, 130, something like that. Yeah, so I'm kind of a good just poster child of just showing up and just being a sponge and just soaking up everything you can about Keller Williams. When Terry texted me, she's like, "Hey, come to our team meeting on Life by Design." And of course, I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely, love to." Love that topic. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, man, that actually is a very deep and big topic. On the surface, common sense, designing a life that you want to live makes sense, but it's a really thorough and deep topic. We could probably spend days and days talking about it. So we'll kind of journey through. Do you have a clicker? No? We'll kind of journey through just a little bit about kind of what my view or perception is. Like Tyler mentioned, I've kind of fulfilled quite a bit of roles. I showed up to Keller Williams as a 22-year-old punk kid with my hat backwards, I guess, and they told me to put on a shirt and tie, and I kind of just showed up and took advantage of all the opportunities. I really owe the vast majority of my career and my life and my businesses and stuff just to showing up, listening to people, copying, duplicating, thank you. And just, really trying to just live the life that I want. So life by design, what does that mean to you guys? When you hear those words, life by design, how would you define what a life by design is? Yeah. 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 Who else? Brock? Yeah. You're kind of blazing your own life. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? How do you know what you want? You say a life by design, you usually need to know what you need to design it by. Like, how do you determine how you design your life? What? Your why? I thought you said your wife. Absolutely. Yes. Your why, your big why. Yeah. Can your why change? Sure. I think it evolves, it changes, as you grow older, perspectives, kids, all that sort of stuff, for sure. Cool. Who on a scale from 1 to 10, being crystal clear as a 10, you know exactly the life that you want to build. Who would say that you're a 10? Candace? Okay. Who's a 7, 8, or 9? 9? Below that. You need some more clarity. Cool. Okay. Yeah, this is just, a definition we pulled, but living life by design means you're purposely designing each element of your life rather than going through the motions of climbing the career ladder without knowing your ultimate goal. Living a life by design means you know exactly where you're headed and the lifestyle that you want to have. I got remarried last year. And this is always a good example when I think about life by design. When you think about a wedding, right? Like a wedding is one of the most planned days of your lifetime, right? Like exactly what, how, when, the smell of the flowers, not only the color of them, the things on the decorations, what you're going to eat, who's going to serve it, right? Who had your wedding ever? Anybody that's been married, who had your wedding just totally designed? Yeah, right? Well, in total transparency, I had nothing to do with it. She just told me when to show up. And so that's maybe a bad example for me, but what, that one day becomes big in our life and we spend so much time and energy planning it. Who start planning their wedding even as like a child? Do we have any ladies in the room that just, you already had it in your mind? Yeah. Yeah. Right. So you just think about some of the energy that's put into just one day of our life, and then you just think about the vast majority of society out there. They spend very little time or energy on planning the remainder of their life, right? And I try to think through human behavior of why that is or what causes that. And I just don't think a lot of people truly just look down the road far enough and then create a plan that's going to get them on pace for that, And I talk a lot about my family. I love my family, but there's a lot of my life I've designed to try to be not like my family, right? And a lot of my family, they're just good day to day. They'll give you the shirt off their back type of people. But even when it comes to wealth, they're paycheck to paycheck type of people. Even my dad has zero idea how he's going to retire. He's got zero retirement planning. He's got zero retirement income. Like he just thinks it's magically going to happen. And every once in a while, we'll just get in an argument. I'm like, what in the blank do you think is going to happen? I'm like, you're not living in my basement for one, right? And part of that, you gotta just start being more detailed. And I think the only way to really do that is create time periods or days or hours or weeks or whatever, where you're just physically stepping out of your own life to spend time planning your life, right? I call it organization time, or just your planning time or whatever. And unless you're actually time blocking time in your life, it's hard to actually just coast through life and plan it at the same time, right? Do you ever just feel like you're in a tornado of life? Just, for every second of the day, you got 50 things to do, right? There's a lot of things competing for life. And even just when we're talking about how your life kind of evolves, I was just even thinking about my journey a little bit. Most at the beginning of my life or career, I was designing my life. What did I want? What did I want to become or whatever? And so much of my designing was around helping me get what I wanted, right? And then I started having kids, and you start seeing these sweet little souls and just you start planning for their lives, and you want the absolute best for your kids. You want the best schools, the best training, the best coaches or whatever. And I'm trying to just really build a life that is setting them up for whatever they could go accomplish. I want them to be great at stuff. And even now, still somewhat early in my career, I'm starting to even vision beyond that. I there's a lot of just big families that I admire, like the Woodburys or the Rockefellers or, some of these families that have just totally had a ripple effect through generations and generations, so even a lot of my funding my life has to do is how do I want to be remembered after I'm dead 50 years or whatever, right? And a lot of times that just changes stages, even beginning in my career, growing up kind of poor for the most part. Like I just wanted to be able to go to a restaurant or a grocery store and just be able to get whatever I wanted, or just buy whatever I wanted. Like ordering an appetizer at dinner was one of my first financial goals because it's just something we never did growing up, right? And I just never wanted to have to worry about that, and then even family, I definitely don't want to spoil my kids, but like I want them to be able to be at a point in life earlier on than I was to go, choose the life that they want to have. So often when you're worried about money and you're broke and stuff like that, like you're living a life by scarcity versus, pulling yourself out and living more of a life by design, right? And a lot of times it just takes the commitment and the goal. So first off, to really truly build a life by design, we have to think through it and have that clarity of what it's going to be, right? Like if you don't know where you're going, you're never going to get there, right? Like you want to go buy, you always hear, you want to go buy a fancy car, go test drive it, get in the car, smell the leather, what does it feel like? What does it drive like or whatever? Like you got to visualize, and whether you think law of attraction is cheesy or not, like there's probably some good principles in there that you have to put it out there and be clear on what you're going to get, because it just actually helps. It's not necessarily setting the goal. That's the big, principle. It's when you set a goal, most likely it's forcing you to create a plan that's going to put you on path to go out and achieve that, right? So even in vision, right? In order to design your dream life, you've got to know where you want to be, and more importantly, who you want to become, right? The be, do, have, the bold law, right? A lot of times you got to be the person, and then you got to go do the stuff, and then you're going to have what you want, right? So just, I want to throw this question out, just totally open question. You say anything you want, but like when you're talking about envisioning your life or trying to put yourself down the road farther, envisioning what that life's going to look like, how do you do that? Like if someone, you're trying to teach the same principle to someone, what would you tell them?
What if so when I look at it, I look at, okay, where do I want to be? Who is that person? Look like?
Why is that important? Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Well, a lot of times it's just you're not going to magically just go get it, right? A lot of times you've got to put yourself in the place that's on the journey there. What else would you guys say to that question? Kimber?
I would say like first and foremost, you just have
We queue up that video. Go ahead, Candace. Hmm. 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 Back there and then Tyler. Hmm. Hmm. Tyler?
Dennis is such a great example of a life by design because as I've known her, and I felt like it was what came to me when she was talking is a lot of times we think of the life by design as the result. We're not going to have our life until we get there. But what Kendra mentioned, our life is where we're at right now. We can be living our life by design. It doesn't have to be, oh, finally when I get the boat, or finally when I get to that house, or whatever. That's something that I've always admired watching. But it's the journey.
Yeah.
Accept that where you're at today will be the life. You're on that path.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of the who's been to Bold before. Bunch of you. So the Bold like thought process cycle, right? Like your programming leads to your thoughts lead to your emotions lead to your actions lead to your results, and your results lead to your programming. Say that again. So your programming leads to your thoughts lead to your emotions lead to your actions, right? Logic makes you think, emotions make you act. So your emotions is what creates action, and then your actions is what validates and creates your results. And then your results is usually what will change your programming. It literally rewires your brain, and then your programming, and just this constant cycle that we live in life, right? So like even me growing up, like I was programmed in a lot of ways to a lower level of thinking, which then influenced my emotions, turned into actions, and my results, right? And part of, I think, even a life by design, just my journey is you have to put yourself in bigger circles. You have to expose yourself to a bigger way of life for you to even know how to think bigger that then can influence, right? Like Keller Williams for me is a good example of this, is just being in a giant company like we are, number one biggest company on the planet in the real estate industry, right? And when you go, and he mentioned mega camp, like I owe a lot to my level of thinking by putting myself consistently in those big events that just exposed me to bigger things that helped me at least envision what I wanted at a higher level. And it wasn't just like boom, boom, it was a constant like layering on a higher level of thinking, which then started actually creating the motions in me that I'm like, well, those people, have you ever met someone that's just a total top producer and you're like, this son of a gun is, a high producer? You start creating a little bit of a belief system that you're like, before it's just like, oh, that would be so awesome to have, or that'd be so awesome to be, or do, or whatever. And then you start actually putting yourself more and more in those arenas. And then you start actually finding a belief in yourself, It just starts out as like, well, why not? Like, why couldn't I go do that? And then even the why or the questioning of it starts turning into a little bit of confidence. And then the confidence starts to fuel that emotion, which can propel you into higher level of action and just starts raising your level of thinking and raises the level of your action, which no doubt correlates with your results, and it reprograms your brain, and then it's just constantly doing that, right? So if you don't even know how to, if you were one of those people that raise your hand and be like, I don't really have the clarity, maybe you just need to put yourself in a bigger circles and actually start getting exposed to what's awesome. I went to dinner last night with just a mortgage executive that 100% convinced me I'm going to buy a jet and I'm going to learn how to fly it. That was never on my board until last night. I'm like, yep, I told him this morning. I walked in, I'm like, I'm going to pilot school. And it's just like I would never have done that had I not put myself in an ability to go meet with that guy or whatever, right? And that's why who you associate with matters, right? Absolutely. So I want to transition to a dilemma. We've got a dilemma in life that Gary introduces.
Here's the dilemma you have. You wake up every morning and you say, man, the world is amazing. I want to know it all, have it all, and do it all. Man, I can't wait to hit it. What's the problem here? I'm not going to do it. No. See, the circle represents knowing it all. The pie shape represents what you will know. The circle represents everything if you had everything, you'd have the circle. Your life is represented by the pie shape. That's what you will have. And oh, by the way, the circle represents everything that you could ever do on the planet. If you did the entire circle, you've done it all. Your life will be that slice of pie. It's your slice of life, by the way. Now, how does that happen? What will you know, have, and do? You get to decide for the most part. Okay? And that's the challenge, making peace with that. So once you understand that, see, if you could know it all, have it all, do it all, you wouldn't have to make any choices, would you? You would just know it all, do it all, and have it all. But since you can't know it all, you have to decide what you're going to know and what you're not going to know. You can't do it all, so you have to decide what are you going to do and not do. And you can't have it all, so you get to decide what it is you are going to try to have and what you're going to not have, right? So all of a sudden you wake up one day and you go, holy cow, life is about choice. The most important thing that I can do in going from childhood to adulthood is accepting that my life is about choice. Now, how do you make good choices? So that becomes the question, right? Yeah. Did you take a choice class? Is that like Baylor 101 or 102? Right? Or was that high school? Was that they didn't let you make good choices till you were a senior? So as a senior in high school, they said, now we need to teach you how to make good choices. Yes or no? Did you ever take a class on it called Good Choices? Crazy, isn't it? It's crazy because I'm telling you this and you're thinking about whether I'm right or wrong. But the older you get, you're going to reflect back on what I said to you, what the man in black with the gray mustache said, and you're going to go, crud, he was right. Now, the sooner you can accept that without having to think it through, the better off you're going to be. If you can just accept this as a truth of your forefathers telling you, it's true. So if no one ever taught you how to do it, when did you expect to learn how to make good choices? Okay. You can learn from others, but here's the trick. You better go purposefully learn. Otherwise, you're just a rolling stone down a hill learning based upon the experiences you have instead of the experiences you choose. See, we said in our last class, remember, you get to choose your role models. You get to choose your prophets in your life. You get to choose your mentors. You get to choose your friends. You get to choose your teachers. In the end, you get to choose all of that. In the absence of choice, experience will be your teacher, but on what speed? So you get to sit here today and you no longer get to be a rolling stone. You get to actually decide and start making choices based upon what you see in the world and then go for that, right? So I'm taking a little of your innocence away today, okay? And also your right to be a victim because you've been told. Now, go make better choices.
Life in general is just so abundant, right? Like that is the dilemma. The circle is what's out there. and with my Texan accent, the pie is you, right? And the choice becomes a challenge in life, right? And that's part of why I feel like that planning time and separating yourself from the world to actually like think through and process through some sort of, you know, whatever your process is. Like I'm going to show you what my process is on goal setting to the now. But you've got to journey through on helping, you know, clarifying and creating a little bit more laser focus on truly what you want to go do, what, you know, and what you're passionate about. And oftentimes the mistake that I see most people make, you know, we have a lot of talented people in our company, but the mistake that they make is they say yes to so many things, right? And every time you say yes to something, most people don't realize that you're saying no to a lot of other things, right? And that's why even my theme of my life for the last couple of years, the first 15 at Keller Williams, I got really addicted to saying yes to a lot of stuff. You know, let me show you my org chart. It's just I got a lot on my plate right now, and I'm like, man, I don't want to keep going down this road and on this journey of saying yes to so many things. Like I got to start saying no to a lot of things and be even more specific on what I say yes to, so I can go deeper and enjoy those areas of life even more. Right? Where's my clicker? Does that make sense? What did you guys get from that video? Yep. Yep. Hannah, do you have one? Oh. Yes. And sometimes, you know, you're not going to totally screw it up. Like if you haven't chosen, just make a choice. You're not going to be so off that you just are doing something that you just hate all day, right? Most likely, we're probably going to choose things that we remotely enjoy, right? But then you just have to be able to step back and say, do I really love this? Do I like it? Do I want to do this, right? Microsoft, I've talked to some of my leadership team about this. Microsoft just did a survey coming out of COVID, right? COVID kind of sent us all into a mental spin a little bit, right? And all these companies are having to kind of draw the line in the sand. Are they going back digital? You know, are they staying digital? Are they forcing their employees to come back? People, you know, there's a big chunk of people who are just going to retire early. There's right now the Microsoft survey, some of you might have seen this, 41% of people right now across the planet are considering a career change, which is crazy because you just think a lot of people just learn to enjoy their life, you know, having a little bit more choice in it or choosing to do more of their things, that they're questioning whether they actually even want to go back to work. They want to make a career change. They want to start a business or whatever. And that's one of the luxuries of real estate is we've always enjoyed a high level of freedom, flexibility, and choice on what we want to do when we want to do it. You just have to take ownership a little bit more accountably, you know, in those choices, right? And for me, I've really subscribed to trying to bucket the different pieces of me into different areas of life. And there's a lot of different ways that people divide up areas of life. This is kind of like my way of forming, you know, a handful of different theories. I really subscribe to some of Tony Robbins' training. I really subscribe to Darren Hardy. Some of this comes out a little bit out of the One Thing book that Gary and Jay wrote. But I have 7 areas of life. So every year I go through a process for a full day called the retreat that I've started doing with some of our leadership team. But I have health, which is me, my body, you know, like if your health isn't great, does any other area of life matter? Usually not, right? And health and making some clear priorities and choices on what's important to me, what I want to do, what I want to have, what I want to know in my health. My soul is just everything inside, you know, it could be your spiritual life, could be just your purpose, you know, your why, like just a lot of, it's kind of one of those selfish components too, is just what's inside of you. Relationships, right? Again, who you hang out with matters. You know, you might have your family, your spouse, your coworkers, your friends, you know, whatever, like choosing people and systematically trying to upgrade some of the relationships in your life, no doubt has a ripple effect on you. You know, even my kids, right? Like my kids are almost going into junior high, and junior high is nuts, right? Does anybody love junior high? It was a weird time period, right? And I'm starting to get concerned. I'm like, man, how do I help influence my children to hang out with really great influences, you know, at such an early pivotal point of their childhood development, right? And I'm always focused on that. And then sometimes I think about me, I'm like, why am I hanging out with that idiot that's just totally a bad example of anything, right? Like you got to make sure the relationships are very important. You only have so much time in a day. And as even I've gone older and my world's gotten bigger, it's forced me to even prioritize more who I truly want to spend my time with, right? And a lot of times, if you're great at something, there's endless amounts of people that want to come and take your time out of your life, right? Time, again, I've never, until the last several years, I never really set specific goals how I was using my time. You know, what is my productivity goals? What are my performance goals? You know, a lot of my time goals have to do with how I'm using it, right? Like Gary Keller is a big playtime, org time, and pay time. So, you know, if you don't plan your playtime, fitting playtime into your busy schedules becomes very, very difficult, you know, and I've planned all my playtime in advance before I planned anything else rolling into a year. And there's other years I just kind of coasted into the year and let my time get taken where it needs to. And it's a total different feeling that I have. And most of the time, if you truly are planning your playtime, it's a lot easier to protect that and time block. Has anybody ever gone on a vacation and be like, oh, that was a waste of time? Like most likely it's always enjoyable. You're spending quality time with family or whatever. Every vacation, I don't know if you guys do this. Every vacation I'm on, a lot of what I'm thinking about is just planning all of my other future vacations. Like I'm literally on a vacation and I'm thinking about all the next vacations I can plan. But when I get sucked into work, I don't have a lot of time to think about planning playtime, right? And again, we've talked about organization time and then even pay time, like time blocking your 20%. Like what is the least amount of things that you need to do that have the biggest impact in your areas of life, right? Career and wealth, I separate. Because to me, a lot of times, if you're in a career specifically for the money, a lot of times you're going to end up with no passion or no fulfillment or no energy, you know, swapping your time for money. And that's why wealth is wealth. And my career and my business is something separate. Like I want to spend my time doing what I feel like I'm the best at. And if I do that, I know that money is going to be a natural byproduct, right? Having very clear wealth goals and then impact. You know, this is a very like your charitable, you know, your leadership, like what's the dent on the planet that we're going to go make, right? And a lot of that's going to be on the impact you make with others. So another video, let's play this.
This is the story of strings. I want you to imagine that your life force is made up of strings. When you want to accomplish something, attain something, do something, you simply send out one of your strings, and then your life is automatically pulled towards that. So imagine that there are two motivated people who both realize this truth. One individual says, I'm going to focus on one thing at a time and see how that works for me. And immediately and predictably, his life begins to move towards it. Now, the other individual says, I also want to do a lot of things and accomplish a lot of things, and I just need to get after all of it right now. So he sends out 6 different strings at one time and immediately and predictably starts moving towards each of his desires. But he doesn't understand he is going to be denied. Why? Because his strings are pulling him in different directions, and he's going to reach a point where he simply can't get any closer. The competing tensions will simply slow him down. What about the other individual? Well, he ultimately gets pulled all the way to whatever he wants. He attains it, then he immediately picks another one and attains that, and then he picks another one and attains that. You see, the challenge we each have is recognizing this simple truth. We can achieve mastery sequentially, but not simultaneously. Tap into the transformative power of clarity by focusing on what matters.
The law of sequential mastery. Do you guys believe in that? This has kind of been a little bit of my theme the last couple of weeks. I've had this conversation with a lot of people. Like that I just, you know, a lot of times when you say I have big goals in all these, and I'm just trying to accomplish all the time, the likelihood of me accomplishing those goals goes down, right? The even like real estate teams, right? When I just dump a ton of leads on one agent, the amount that's going to get converted to closings versus when I just put like very few leads on their plate is a drastic swing, you know. And that's part of it is like when I think about some of the areas of life and you try to even like compare yourself to other people that maybe had a lot of focus sequentially one after another on goals, they kind of got those areas of life to maintenance. Their ability to maintain some of those areas of life is a lot easier than sometimes getting to a certain goal. So for example, like wealth, right? Like when I got into real estate, building a real estate career is hard, right? Who's pretty new? Who's in your first year? Good luck, but we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Okay. Okay. it's just hard. You're having to brand yourself. You're having to set up all your systems. You're having to communicate. You're having to like literally build a database and like spend months, if not years, of telling those people that you are their realtor professional, sometimes before you get business out of them, and sometimes it happens faster or not. But part of that is once you actually really just spend several years marketing to a small group of people and just offering them value after value after value, that first year, you probably work 3 times harder than you're going to end up working the second year, third year, or whatever. Like even my real estate team, some of mine and my real estate partners, SOI, we haven't really been awesome at calling them or prospecting them on a quarterly basis for years, and we still are just systematically getting a lot of business out of them, right? Like even wealth, for example, like going from like in debt, making no money, to getting to a net worth of $1 million is very, very difficult. Like it is very, very hard, and once I hit that point, to then keep growing my net worth, to have a great lifestyle, to make a great income is probably 100 times easier than to journey from broke to $1 million, right? Like even the health area of life, like getting, like I have a health coach that I've had for a couple of years. The chubbiest Jonny ever got, I was 29% body fat. And right now, like over the last probably 18 months, I'm down to 14% body fat. So my goal is to get to 10%. And I am so committed to that. But like we've been coaching all different stuff. We spend a lot of time on exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management, all that sort of stuff. And even just after all these hours I've spent coaching with him, like it was just like 3 weeks ago that I asked him, because the dude's just jacked all the time. He's just always fit. He's always got a 6-pack. And I feel like he lives the exact same life that I've been living, right? And I'm like, I feel like you're not doing anything more special, but you're just always ripped, And I'm like, is the secret to just having a great body just like really spending consistent, persistent time to getting to a low body fat percent, to getting to a decent amount of muscle mass on your body, which speeds up your metabolism. And then your ability to maintain that body is just drastically easier than going from chubby to not, right? And he's like, yes, duh. I'm like, okay. And that's part of it, right? Like it's just even getting to the point, if you just spend more energy on kind of one area of life to the point that you can get it to almost like I call it maintenance mode, where it becomes less energy and less time focused to kind of maintain that level of awesomeness in that area of life. And then you can move on to maybe another area of life, right? To commit to all 7 or just a ton of things in one area of life is difficult, right? That law of sequential mastery is a very true universal principle. And again, comes back down to choice on prioritizing what is the most important right now. Maybe it's the relationship area of life. Maybe it is the health area of life, right? And one of the bigger challenges for me, because I'm OCD, I'm a perfectionist, like everything I got has its place and it's clean and whatever, but is allowing chaos to show up in an area of life so I can spend more of my time and energy in a specific area of life that I'm deeming more appropriate this time. Does this make sense? You guys buy into that? Okay. I don't know if that's science, but that's my science. Okay. So let's talk about goal setting now. How do you guys set goals? You now have kind of envisioned the life that you want. You built a belief system into it. You prioritized. How do you actually get that to like small chunks, chronological, to get you on pace for a goal to hit at a certain point? Reverse engineering. So you big goal. All right, 10%. I'm at 14% now. I got 6 months left. I got to probably crank down like 0.7% of 1% each month by the end of the year, right? Attainable, timely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's pretty simple, but like for some reason it is a lack of our education growing up, right? Like I'd never really learned how to set goals until Keller Williams. I think I had an idea or maybe an instinct I kind of built up, but like having the papers, documents, the tools that's going to systematically walk me through it and then hold me accountable to it. So this is you can go onto the onething.com website. It's called the Kick-Ass Guide to Goal Setting. They swear, yes. Basically, they talk about setting your long-term goals and just going through your bucket list. If you're going to pick one area of life, what is everything you want to accomplish ever in your lifetime in that area of life? And then you got to choose and start narrow down what are the highest priority that you want to do in a year. And then you got to figure out how to break them down in a month. And then the rubber meets the road by putting them on your calendar and time blocking on a daily and a weekly basis, right? Which is what we call habits. Why are habits so important? Yeah, yeah. Create your reality. Yeah. This is the journey that we're talking about of being the bee, right? Like becoming the person that's going to get you to those goals. And this really is just the process that I walk through is I'm like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I really want to do? And if I want to go do that bad enough that it creates the emotional desire, who do I have to become? Or even the cousin question to that is, how do I have to think about myself to achieve that goal? Right? Like, who do you have to become? How do you have to perceive yourself? And a lot of our negative self-talk and our deprecation sometimes is one of our biggest enemies on building those habits to that. There's a study I learned about several months ago on who's ever ran a half marathon. Remember, you guys? Okay. There was a study. They had several hundred people that they divided into two groups, and the whole group, all the people were basically couch potato, and they were set a goal that they wanted to run a half marathon, right? And they were sedentary, and they divided them up into two groups. Group number one, they basically created a couch potato to half marathon running plan. So you're going to start out week 1, you're going to run 1 mile. Week 2, you're going to run 2 miles a day. Week 3, you're going to run 3 miles a day. Week 4, you're going to run 4 miles, blah, 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 to getting up to that half marathon in like a 12-week program. Who's ever seen one of those? Right? And out of that study, they had like 200 and something people in that study running that playbook to get to the half marathon. What % of that group do you think actually ended up achieving and running that half marathon? 4%. 4%. And part of it is even because I did that exact same thing. I'm like, Google couch potato to half marathon. What do I need to do? And I even looked at like week 3, week 4, and I'm like, there is no way I can run 4 miles per day in 4 weeks from now. Like it felt so overwhelming to me. And what I ended up just doing is procrastinating, running the half marathon and dying halfway through, right? The other group, group 2, they basically had an easier start process. They basically said, all right, week number 1, all you're going to do is when you're watching TV during commercials, you're going to stand up. That's it. Week 1. Yes. Yes. Week 2, commercials, right? You're going to get up and you're going to walk in place. Every commercial, the whole commercial, right? Week 3, you're going to jog in place, right? Week 4, blah, blah, blah. And they started so much slower and kind of had more of like a pendulum swing. What do you think at what % of people out of that 250 people ended up completing the half marathon? 67%. Yeah. Same time frame. Yeah. Why do you think that is? Oh. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, a lot of times building habits, the biggest mistake people make is they try to start out too fast, too big, too bold, or whatever, and they're setting themselves up for failure. And then they're trying to build, success off of failure. And a lot of times, just setting very simple wins at the beginning to build on, to change your emotions, to change your actions, to change your results, and just keep that cycle going, set you up for a much higher probability. So, like even health or some of these areas of life that people constantly start over. Maybe you just need to focus on drinking a bunch of water for a month. Maybe you need to focus on just not eating anything after 7 or whatever. Just some of those very simple ones versus be like, I'm going to be at the gym 5 a.m. I'm going to bench press 500 pounds, right? All right. The last thing I want to talk about real quick is then just funding your life by design, right? Which is a big piece of the opportunity at Keller Williams is just really going out and building just an incredible income, incredible passive income, incredible net worth that really just fuels the funding of that life by design. Whatever it is, and it might change. And even me, my financial thermostat has just systematically over 15 years, slowly trickled up to the point that like, I feel like I'm worth a lot of money per hour. Right. And part of that is, is just having clear goals on it. So number 1, a video, you can get that going, but how will you know when you have enough money? Gary's got the answer. Always.
So I'm going to put forth a premise here for you, and that is the true purpose of financial wealth. The true purpose of financial wealth, in my mind, and remember, breathe, this is me talking about my views, is to finance the material foundation necessary for you to achieve your personal mission for your life. Did you hear that? What I believe the purpose of financial wealth is I want enough money to finance the material foundation necessary for me to achieve my mission in life. So if I don't have a mission, how will I ever be rich? Do you hear the catch? By my definition, I can only be rich if I have enough money to finance my mission without having to work. See, if I have a mission in life and I have enough money coming in that allows me to do that without having to work, I'm rich. So if your mission only takes you $40,000 a year of income to live off of to finance your mission, are you rich by my definition? Yes, you are. And the reason I share that with you is I want to get you away from thinking that rich has a dollar amount attached to it that is universal, because that's baloney. It does not have that at all. That is not what rich is. Rich is when you have a purpose in your life and you have the ability to finance that purpose without having to work if you don't want to. Happiness happens on the way to fulfillment. And that's the research. That's not me talking. Happiness happens on the way to fulfillment. And what that means is that if you say, I'm going to be happy when I have a new car, you will never be happy, because the second you have that car, it all wears off. Now you need another goal to be happy. So the happy people, and again, this isn't me talking, this is the research. The research says that you have to have a mission for your life. When you have a mission for your life, that basically is unachievable, in the sense of, if you're going to save the whales, you'll be saving them your whole life.
I love the fact that you guys
out of poverty-
started with big whys, right? Because it's just helping bring more clarity and just throwing it out there of what your big why is. And all your goal is how do you go out and build something that is kicking you enough passive income that's funding whatever that big why is, right? And you might be very clear on it, or it might be just like a journey that you're on. You know, a lot of my goals just revolve around me just living, loving, laughing with my favorite people. I want to build just an unbreakable, empire. I want to totally change the Christensen family tree. I want to just create a just tremendous amount of legacy wealth that could just go for great, 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 great grandkids, right? And I also want to just create unforgettable experiences, and just live life to the fullest, So like I've kind of figured out what passive income dollar amount that is. And that's been my goal, journeying to that for the last 10 years, and then really that really just helps create choice. It creates the freedom that you're out there, and part of that is just Gary, one of my favorite quotes that Jordan put in here is just, most people are taught to live within their means, but I was taught differently, and encourage you to think differently as well. Instead of forgetting your dreams and living within your means, try pursuing the means to live your dreams. Gary Keller. So even just reverse your dream budget. Like if you guys ever sat down, not your current budget, but if you ever sat down and actually just designed, what would it take to live exactly the life that you want? Live where you want, drive where you want, travel where you want, wear what you want, eat what you want, hang out, create whatever experiences you want, whatever, right? Who's done that? Raise your hand. Half of you? Well, the other half, I'd challenge you to do that, because that really is what dictated the number that became my passive income goal. And what was surprising, I thought it was going to be a really big number. It's not that big and scary of a number once I actually put it on a piece of paper. And then everything I do is going out to try to create that number in my life, right? And even some of you that money, right? Can money make you happier? Ooh, money. Can it? Yeah. Yeah, even outside my lifestyle that I want to provide for my family, like spending on others, that makes me happy. It really does, right? Spending on experiences. I just, a couple weeks ago, I took my kids, we're big Dallas Cowboys fans. And every year yes, all right. This year's our year. This is our year, I'll tell you. Yeah. spent on experiences. So my kids, they're 10 and 11, they're playing tackle football the last couple of years. And like every year, ex-Dallas Cowboys football players run a youth football camp in the Dallas Cowboys stadium by cool players we've been watching for years. So I took them this last year, and it was just so awesome. Like my kids were just on like cloud nine. And I'll tell you, like, even if we never like went to another game or anything again, they will remember that experience the rest of their life, right? And that is super powerful and important to me. Buy back your time. Some of the most successful people out there are the most accessible people out there. They have truly mastered their ability to get their time back, right? Again, you've seen Kiyosaki. You have to understand the difference of I call it your left side and your right side of your world. Right here, just to fly through some of these, the left side, most of you should have some sort of entity, most likely an S corporation set up that you're selling your heart out. You're selling a lot of real estate. You might be flipping houses, your ordinary income world. But what most of our agents don't understand is when you get into real estate, you actually started two businesses. You've got your left side of the world that most likely you're swapping your time for money, right? And then your right side is you're setting up your business where your money earns money. Right. And one of the things that I just learned from Gary Keller very, very early on is every dollar I make, I'm saving 30% of it and moving it to my right business. Right. That doesn't have to be investing, saving. I'm creating my second business out there. And that's usually where you're owning long-term real estate. That's where you're owning, assets that don't require your time to invest into it. Ivory Gardner Institute, we had the chief economist come down to the Utah County Association of Realtors. I texted this to my real estate team a couple weeks ago, right after he said this, but everything that's going on in the market, right? Crazy, like purchase price, affordability. There's all sorts of challenges that we've got, inventory issues. But the Ivory Gardner Institute's one of the most credible economist data research organizations in the state of Utah. They are the ones that actually put all the data together to advise the governor and a lot of our state officials on the decisions we make as an economy, right? And the chief economist was sitting in UCAR and he said, all of the data we show, we know there's inventory challenges, we know there's, price affordability. In the next 8 to 9 years, we project that prices across the state of Utah will double again. 8 to 9 years. So you put that in perspective, that's 12%-ish appreciation per year. And there might be a period where we soften, speed back up or whatever, but you think about everything going on in Utah, buy real estate, buy real estate, buy real estate. I would bet probably 20-30% of our agents buy real estate and 60, 70, 80% are missing out on a big opportunity. Yeah, at the beginning, a ton, right? Like if you look back at some of the first, because a lot of times even my partner on my real estate team, Clay and I would partner up and buy rental properties. And we kind of had a good complementary behavior. I'm a little bit more analysis paralysis, which fear probably crept into me more than him. Sometimes he'll go, oh, I put someone under contract. I'm like, what? What the hell are we going to do? How are we going to pay for that? And we kind of complimented you a little bit, but yeah, at the beginning, we were pulling together any dimes we could, trying to figure out how to buy a rental with $1,000. Let's move into it for, however many months or whatever. How do we sell our finance? How do we own, own our finance? Like, Yeah. Now I definitely, like, as my world's progressed, I've been able to divide my personal and more my investment portfolio. We got cash, all that stuff, but like, my life was definitely chaotic, scary, and it took some courage to get over a lot of those humps, right? But again, even just hearing that from the chief economist at Ivory Gardner Institute, no matter what it takes, just figure out a way to buy a rental property. 8 to 9 years, you're going to look like a really smart person, right? And even back then, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when we were buying rental properties, like we look back now and be like, dang, there's so many deals. We should have bought 100 of those, but the market was the market, right? Like in every purchase that we made, we're paying $130,000 for that condo, like that felt like a lot, and even now buying a $400,000 condominium, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, like that seems outrageous to me, right? I'm like, how the hell are we still buying rental properties? But 8, 9 years from now, when that condo's $700,000-800,000, we're going to look like idiots had we not bought more, right? And I think every time we buy something, it takes courage, right? Even now, like we've built some wealth and we start getting into more development and stuff like that. And every time I feel like I'm sacrificing like something or risking something or whatever to try to take that courageous step, for sure. So part of that, but part of that is what happens is every dollar that we made on our left side, 99% of people consider that a dollar that they earned. But somehow we just trained our brains early on that every dollar we actually made was only 70 cents that we actually earned. And we just built that habit early on that 30 cents just came over so systematically that we didn't even recognize that as revenue for the most part in our heads. And it just forced us to set bigger goals on that left side of the world, because by the time it flowed down to even meet our minimum standard of living or whatever. And at the early days, like we were talking about, I don't know how we survived off what we were living off because we were just sacrificing so early on. And if you think when you make more money, you're going to save better or you're going to invest more, totally not. I am totally believe that if you don't have that principle set up, whether you make $1 a month or $1 million a month, unless you have that habit built, income level will never change that for sure. And that's something we just did, right? And then, we'd put 30 cents over, and that 30 cents eventually added up to like $9. We figured out how to buy a rental property, and we just started that right business going. And just over time makes you look really smart. Some of the first houses we bought for 120, 130, we're now selling and rolling up into the red hotels, monopoly style. And, some of the things that we bought that we just blinked, haven't thought about that house for 10 years. And all of a sudden we have $350,000 equity in one rental property that now we're turning into a fourplex, a commercial building or something. So it's almost like every 7-9 years-ish, you'll be able to almost trade up your portfolio and totally reinvent what your portfolio could look like. And if you don't have that habit of moving the money over, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get into the world of real estate for sure. And then eventually your world just starts expanding and you might just get into some more businesses. And that's what my life kind of did. As soon as the team leader opportunity opened up, I'm like, all right, why not? Then I started buying into the office. Then we launched Argentina region. Then we started a title company. We started an insurance company. You just start creating those opportunities on that left side. But every one of those require my time, attention, leadership, or something one way or another. And eventually, like if I stopped working, most likely my partners aren't going to want me in those businesses. So really my right side passive income is my retirement plan, my passive income or whatever, right? Even this building, right? So we own 20% of this building that we just had some equity and stuff. We cashed out something and put it as a down payment and it just starts to steamroll, right? And then eventually this is kind of my world right now. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you just got to go out and really get good at hiring great, talented people. You got to attract talent. You got to learn to inspire them, motivate them, create great opportunities. And the same amount of people that I had in my organization basically before are just really high level talent that are reporting to me now to some degree, right? Yeah. It's just step by step. And that's it, is when you look back after 10 or 15 years, like you can build whatever you want. I really believe you're 5 years away from having anything that you ever want in life. You just got to commit to it, set the goal, and then make the plan for it, and then systematically follow your plan, build the right habits. Yep. Mm-hmm. This? 15 years? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and the crazy thing about our industry specifically is there's so many correlating opportunities that you can get into by doing the same day job that you've always done, right? And that's part of it, is like real estate agents, we see the deals before everybody else does. So to just naturally create a plan that is buying real estate is easier for us in this room than the other 3.5 million people in the state. You understand that? Then buying real estate, right? Even when you go out and have your real estate business, right? To go start some corresponding companies, we are at the top of the funnel when we have the relationship with the client and the consumer and the customer, right? To go out and carve other income streams off. That's why we start getting into strategic alliances, right? Like every business still needs leadership. They still need quality. They still have to have high levels of customer service, but to get into some of these other opportunities is what's going on in the marketplace right now, right? even us, like eventually I just, to own 1% of a Keller Williams franchise was a big deal, And 1% turned into 2%, then 3%, then 5%. And eventually just you fast forward and just I blink and I own 50% of that Orem office, right? And then eventually I look at our P&L statement. I'm like, man, we're paying a lot freaking of money in rent. We need to go buy the building that we're renting from, right? And then we went out and built these commercial buildings. And to have the tenant also be the company that we own that's renting from us from the building wasn't this gigantic step. It was just a very organic, natural step, right? Like if you're renting your home or if you're buying your home, it's a very natural step to help your clients eventually just own more real estate, right? So now is your opportunity to begin taking action and achieving that life you've dreamed of. Learning without action will take you nowhere. All right, that's a wrap. We're 10 minutes over. What were some ahas? Give me 3 or 4. What's something you guys are commit to? What's something that stuck out in your mind that's going to help you go create a life by design? Right. Perfect. Cool. Clarity. Yep. 8 to 9 years. Prices will double. Yep. Cool. Anybody else? Took me like 20 times to be able to say it. The law of sequential mastery. Law of sequential mastery. Candace? Yep. Yep. Your life is your life. Yep. Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody for coming. Have a fantastic day. Real Advantage Open House upstairs.